but we're going to be returning education very simply back to the states where it belongs. And this is a very popular thing to do, but much more importantly, it's a common sense thing to do, and it's going to work. Absolutely, it's going to work. And I can tell you from dealing with the governors and others in the state, they want it so badly. They want to take their children back and really teach their children individually. Probably the cost will be half, and the education will be maybe many, many times better. So we look forward to this. I want to just make one little personal statement. Teachers, to me, are among the most important people in this country, and we're going to take care of our teachers. And I don't care if they're in the union or not in the union. That doesn't matter. But we're going to take care of our teachers, and I believe the states will take actually better care of them than they are taken care of right now. They'll work all sorts of systems and even merit systems. Those great teachers are going to be maybe a little bit better rewarded, or maybe that's the way it should be. But the states are going to make that decision. But
Hey, what's up, everybody? Hey, we're gonna check out real quick. Trump signing the executive order to dismantle the Department of Education. The Department of Education, that is just a federal bureaucracy filled with activists and ridiculous people that don't have any contact with students. They don't teach anyone anything, and they certainly aren't helping our students be smarter. So, as the Democrats flail and flop on the floor and say, this is Donald Trump just doesn't want an educated population, they just don't like education, they don't want the populace educated. Clearly, that's not what they don't want anyone to know what's going on because it's easier to control them. That's what you've been doing. You've been failing and not doing a great job. Trump is trying to stop the shoveling of money into a furnace of bureaucracy to try to do something different, to try to get the populace educated again, because they're not being educated now. The test scores are in the tank and have been in the tank for decades, and we've done nothing but spend more money. Let's talk about it. You ready? All right, let's get into it. Hey man, I hate doing this. I hate mentioning it. But, like, man, I kinda need you to subscribe. If you've been liking the content, you like what I do here. I'm just a regular American talking shit, putting links in descriptions, sources in the descriptions will be down there. I just run my mouth, we do our thing here, we have a good time, we talk to each other in the comments. If you like that, you like hanging out, you're America first, I'm sorry, you gotta do it, I gotta mention it. You gotta hit that subscribe button, you gotta hit that like button. Alright, let's talk about some of these stats. On the Global Education League table, based on a 2012, it looks like a 2012 math score overall, the United States ranked 36th in the world in education, particularly with the math, reading, and science scores is really what they're focusing on. Of course, that's like the main thing. Is just that's just a baseline. We're just talking baseline here. Now, I want to talk about the Chicago schools in Illinois. This is just a chart that I found. Link will be in the description. So the Illinois report card in 2022 showed 30 Illinois schools surrounding Chicago. If you can see that far right column on the right hand side, that is all zeros. They have zero. The number of students who are reading proficiently at their grade level is zero, guys. Zero students are reading proficiently. That total dollar amount divided by 30 is $20,492 per student they spend for them not to be able to read proficiently at their grade level. That is failure. That is total failure. You can't defend these failures. They claim Trump wants the population to not be educated. That's why he's doing this. But the population is not being educated. That's why he is doing this. We need to try something else. Something has to change. We have to give it back to the states. The Department of Education was created through an executive order. Judge Janine claims that it was a kickback to the unions from, the big mob boss Jimmy Carter. That could be true. I don't know. I wasn't alive back then, so I don't know exactly what was going on. I just got to take her word for it. But either way, it's not doing great. No Child Left Behind was a horrific policy. All of these things have equaled our kids are dumber than dog shit. They're dumb as hell. It's bad, okay? And we need to do something. Sending it back to the states is constitutional. Everything about it makes sense. Let's just hear Judge Janine go off real quick about the liberal sitting next to her on the Fox panel, just going, "Yeah, we do have to reform it and change it all, but." Let's hear about it. But we're also going to expose the AFT, the American Federation of Teachers president, for being a liar. If that's the person that's running the union as the president of the union for our teachers, maybe they need to get a new one, because she goes on national TV and just lies. We'll see her, and I got more stats. I got a bunch of graphs to look at. You'll see me on the other side.
They want to make it private. They want to make them religious institutions. And that goes against what you're supposed to do in America. So does it need reform? Does it need to be made better? 100%. But come on.
All the Democrat politicians,
let me tell you
send their
You tell
kids
me.
to private schools.
I am going to tell you.
All
Number
right,
one,
I'm ready.
Number one, we are one nation under God, and don't make a joke about that.
Do you think there should be Trump Bibles in public schools?
Number two is the issue that the Department of Education has wasted $100 billion a year. So cut the crap. You yourself admit they don't do any education. Now, you say that Trump is not dismantling. He's already dismantled with Doge. And let me make one thing also clear. Department of Education was created by an executive order by Jimmy Carter as a payback to the unions. Subsequently, Congress came in and created it, and we're going to end it the same way with an executive order dismantling it. Subsequently finished by a decision by Congress. Now, let's be real clear. All of these issues, as it relates to Pell Grants, special needs, all that stuff is being moved to different departments within Washington. They are not being eliminated, and don't make it sound like these kids are being forgotten, because they're not. But if you want to talk about no child left behind, if that's what the Democrat liberals believe in, that screwed us up, screwed our kids more than anything, because no kid left behind made sure that every kid passed. And now we've got kids who can't even read at 8th grade level because they were passed. We have a 19-year-old who graduated with honors who can't read proficiently. All of this Democrat nonsense labelism is for the birds. And let me tell you one more thing. The Constitution does not guarantee an education. It is not a federal right. It is not a federal issue. It is something that, under the 10th Amendment to the Constitution, is left to the states. The state constitutions have provisions where you have a right to education. But this is something that is for parents and for educators, for teachers that we do love. We don't love Randy Weingarten and what she did to our kids when she couldn't find one metric in the billions of dollars that we gave her to open the schools to make it safe enough for her and her pals to go to open up those schools. You know what, Randy? Go back to Ukraine for the third time to try to figure out what they're doing in education. And let me tell you one more thing. I'm not done. One more thing. Is these kids in China and in Russia that were studying quantum physics while our kids were hiding and doing drugs and alcohol, and the kids in Norway and Denmark and Sweden. We spend more money per kid than any country in the world, and we're losing because of the Democrats. And that's the end of that.
Can I just say one more thing? Since we're going to accuse the Republicans of not caring about disabled kids getting an education or poor kids getting an education. The Biden administration threatened to withdraw funding for student lunches if school districts did not force young women to have men in their locker rooms competing with them. So if we want to talk about those types of things, we can, but that's not what the president did today.
Where's the lie? And I can't be mad at her, but she's passionate about it. All right, we're going to this Cato Institute. The charts by Andrew Coulson in May 2013. The source was the Department of Education Digest of Education Statistics. So this chart is from 1970 up until 2020. Though the green, purple, and red line there is the reading, math, and science scores from 1970 to 2020. The dotted purple line was the total enrollment for students. So that's the amount of students we have. Then you have the orange line is the total number of employees. Now that's all the employees. That's administrators, teachers, and everything. So that they have increased the amount of people teaching the kids, and then the cost of those people, look, that top line, that blue line is the total cost and the amount of money that we're spending. So the money is going through the roof for the bureaucracy to be created, but it's not for a big surge of students. It's not for making the students test better or be proficient at the things they're trying to teach them. It's just more money for people sitting in offices. Next graph. So there was another graph that I looked at that was very similar to this one, but we take a look at this one as well. This is from 2000 to 2022, I believe. Same thing. Digest of Education Statistics, National Center for Education Statistics is the source. It's listed in the fine print at the bottom there. I will put it in the description as well. So with that said, we see here, all right, now growth in administrative staff, principals, teachers, and students in public schools. Okay, what you'll see there down at the bottom, that blue line is the students, the green line is the teachers, the yellow line is principals and assistant principals, and the red line is administrative staff. Okay, with that said, we've already seen the test scores and how the test scores have gone during the same time period. Now we're just looking at the staff. We know that they haven't improved what the students are doing and how smart the kids are or how educated they are, especially when it comes to the basics, math, reading, and science. They've received since 2000, we've got an increase of 5% of students. With that said, we've had an increase of 10% of teachers. That makes sense. That's like that's reasonable. The other graph I saw was 8% and 8%, but whatever, it is what it is. This one was a little bit more clear to see a little bit of a better graph, but similar statistics, almost identical statistics. So the yellow line, principals and if we only got 5% more students and 10% more teachers, why did we need 39% more principals and assistant principals? That's my first question. And principals and assistant principals, they deal directly with the students. And now students, I know sometimes they're a little crazy. Now, if you need more principals to help, that's reasonable. I can understand that. What I can't understand is 95% more administrative staff. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the nail in the coffin for all of this stuff. This is failure. This is failure backed by dollars stolen from all of us. This is they are paying themselves to have cushy jobs sitting in offices. You constantly hear people cry about teachers' wages and we don't pay teachers enough, we don't take care of teachers enough. Well, maybe if you weren't increasing the bureaucrats by 95% and their salaries going through the absolute roof when they're not even having contact with your children. They're not even teaching the children anything at all. They're managing, guys. They're activists. This is trash. Next graph. Now, those administrators are still working in the public school systems in each individual states that they work at. Now, if we're now talking about the actual employees of the Department of Education, since 2000, the headcount of the Department of Education has fallen 14%, while the spending has increased 649%. And that is from openthebooks.com, a visual capitalist. I guess I'll put the link in the description for that as well. You can see the total number of Department of Education employees on the right-hand side. In 2000, it was 4,930, and they spent around $33 billion. Fast forward to 2024, you can follow the graph if you like. It's down to 4,245 employees at the Department of Education, but they're spending $251 billion. Make it make sense. Now, with all this stuff, all the graphs will be in the description if you guys want to check it out yourself. The final nail in the coffin is the American Federation of Teachers president. This is the goober that goes on TV and cries and says, "Guys, don't let Trump do this. You have to stop him. Get all your activist judges to stop him from shutting down the Department of Education. We need this. We're helping. We're making your kids educated. All we do is help." She goes on TV and lies. COVID was one of the worst experiences for my teenage children going through school. It was absolutely. I'm not going to get into a personal story, but it absolutely decimated one of my straight A students. It absolutely destroyed her to have to deal with the nonsense of COVID. They needed to get back to school as fast as possible. Now, let's see this. This is the person that's running the union that wants to block Donald Trump. This is the president of AFT, an absolute liar, an absolute spaz. First, you're going to hear her crying and spazzing out about Trump's threats to close down the Department of Education through an executive order. First of all, it was created through an executive order. Yes, it was then voted on through Congress, and I would assume Trump is going to do the same thing with that as well. But ultimately, if it was created with executive order, it can absolutely be slashed with executive order, so she can stop with that. But Let's listen to her scratch and crawl and cry like a little baby first. And the Greg Foreman's, the Black Conservative Perspective, his video will be linked in the description. But he had it edited real nice whenever she lies about wanting to read. She was the one that wanted to reopen schools, guys.
Is why so many people are so mad about it, because they're just taking opportunity away from kids that don't have it. So billionaires, kids of billionaires, they have it. They go to private schools. Everyone else, 90%, go to public schools. Don't take away their opportunity.
So let's stay on the facts.
Sorry,
no,
I'm
do
really
not
angry
apologize.
about this.
No, because this
I'm
is what
really
people
angry.
need to hear.
I taught kids in Clara Barton High School in Brooklyn, New York, and when they cut half the people, it's like evisceration by 1,000 cuts. Yeah. So you want to do this? Have the fight with us in Congress. Let's make sure we get the issues out there. I'm so mad. I'm spitting mad about this because it's hurting the people who can't vote. Children don't vote. Let's not take away their opportunity.
Meanwhile,
Caroline, what do you say to critics of the president's education plan?
Where was their criticism of our nation's failing test scores for the last several decades? The Department of Education was founded in the 1970s, and since then we have spent more than $3 trillion at this federal bureaucracy. What has been the return on that investment for the American taxpayer? Levels that are less than ideal, less than proficient. Our children's test scores are incredibly concerning when it comes to reading rates, literacy rates, math, and science test scores. The numbers prove that, and the president is finally, this president is finally taking much needed action to return education to where it belongs, and that's to educators closest to students in their classrooms in their respective states.
We all know that COVID absolutely decimated school children and the progress that any student was making learning. We all know that it was a terrible, terrible time. We know that Trump, Florida, Republican governors were the ones that were pushing to reopen immediately. Some people were saying to open schools back up as early as April of 2020. Now, the president of AFT is going to lie on national TV and say that, oh, she wanted schools to reopen right away. That's not what she wanted, and that's why she's crying. Whenever she says, everyone's so mad about this, who's mad about it is people with cushy jobs with fancy six-figure salaries that don't even have to interact with children, don't teach them anything, don't deal with any of the daily struggles that teachers have to deal with. Let's slash it. Let's cut the money from all these bureaucrats and give it to the teachers, the ones that have to suffer through with these children every single day trying to force them to learn. And let's actually teach them. But let's see her squirm and lie first. She and her friends did not want the schools to reopen because they wanted their same salaries to sit at home and work in pajamas. And that's just the goddamn truth. Let's hear her lie.
School closures, that's one of the big examples. And that has fueled a lot of animus towards the Department of Education, towards teachers' unions. Do you reflect on that? I mean, what are you taking away from that in the position that that may have fueled sort of the support that allows President Trump to be in a position to do something that you find so problematic, like eliminating the Department of Education in all intents and purposes?
So, Brianna, COVID was a terrible time for us. And as you know, because I was on your show a lot and other shows, I wanted schools to be reopened as early as April of 2020.
Now, the article is up on the screen. She just said she wanted schools open as early as April of 2020. Let's hear it one more time. And then hear what she really said.
I wanted schools to be reopened as early as April of 2020. The issue was the fear, and the issue was the safety issues. but COVID has really hurt in so many ways. But this has been a Republican talking point for a long time. And
flashback. Members of that 25,000-strong union voted in the majority to stay at home for at least another 2 days to defy Chicago Public Schools' orders to return to the classroom. Does the AFT stand 100% behind the Chicago union?
So, of course, we stand 100% behind the Chicago Union.
I want schools to be reopened as early as April of 2020.
Is this school year probably not going to have full school openings?
Well, so I'm glad you asked that question, Chuck, because what does full school opening mean? If you do 6 feet of physical distancing, you're essentially saying in a school you're going to have about 50% or 60% of people in there at any one time, not 100%.
I want schools to be reopened as early as April of 2020.
When and how are we getting our students, our children, back into those classrooms full time?
So full time is going to depend upon what's going on with physical distancing and what's going on with the variants.
I want schools to be reopened as early as April of 2020.
And I just hope this is not a rush to put in twice as many deaths in a place where we're really starting to get things reopened.
I'm surprised to hear you think that this is a rush.
I want schools to be reopened as early as April of 2020.
The American Federation of Teachers president Randy Weingarten says the union is reserving judgment for now.
Why not trust the CDC's guidance?
We have to figure out in all these schools right now, which have been set up for 6 feet physical distancing, how this is going to work.
I want schools to be reopened as early as April of 2020.
You're going to have everyone back in September, 100% in class, 5 days a week?
I hope so. I would hope that Fox would be just as focused on let's get rid of the misinformation about what happened in this election. This election was free.
Come on, Randy. Come on. This is not the topic that we're here to talk about.
I want schools to be reopened as early as April of 2020.
Why not tomorrow? I mean, literally, why not tomorrow? If 90% of your teachers are vaccinated, if we know what we know now, why not just go back to school in person tomorrow?
Well, frankly, 97% of the schools are open for in-person learning.
Not 5 days a week.
About 60% of them are. The real key right now is that about 2/3 of our parents, particularly Black and brown parents, don't trust it.
I want schools to be reopened as early as April of 2020.
You recently pushed back on the CDC's new social distancing guidelines for schools from 6 feet to 3. Why?
Because, because trust is...
Don't start telling me I'm Islamophobic.
Be more articulate when you speak to the children.
Yes, sir. I will make better mouth.
Depending on us to win all the things. NEA, we have to win all the things. All the things. All the things. Our colleagues are depending on us to win all the things. Keep going, NEA. To preserve our democracy, we must win all the things. Delegates, we won't go back. We will keep going forward because we are the NEA. We are the NEA. We are the NEA.
So that was Becky Pringle, the president of the largest teachers union in the United States, the NEA. As she was saying, and what was she doing? Was she giving a rally on improving test scores and the kids in Chicago being able to read now instead of killing each other? She was celebrating scores and no, she was talking about preserving democracy. What's she talking about? Anyway, make the kids smarter, Becky. Won't you work on that? Could you imagine why they're not doing so great? And then the other one is just straight up lying through her teeth on national TV, and she runs the second largest teachers union in the United States. How come these people are crying about losing their jobs? I wonder why they're losing their jobs. Then you have the other lady. She's the second largest teacher union in America. That's the president. And she's just a stone cold liar. She went on TV and said, "Oh, now she says she wanted schools to be open right away as early as April of 2020." We just showed you all the clips, man. Is that she's lying? That's not what she said. She fought it the entire time. She fought these teachers going back to school so these kids could learn the entire time. So if that's leading the unions of all the teachers and administrators, why do you think the kids aren't doing real well? Is it because all of these activists that have infiltrated the Department of Education and all the layers of academia that are disgusting? This trend continues at the university level. I didn't really talk about it too much because it's really off topic a little bit, but I had a graph set up too for the top 20 endowed universities as well that have the administrators are through the roof. The money they spend on administration is through the roof. These are people that for a lot of times are not teaching classes. They're not doing anything. They're not teaching children anything. They're not teaching the college kids anything. They're not teaching it's the whole thing, man. It's K through 12 plus the universities. It's that bad. The activist infiltration into academia, it has to be gutted out. I showed you all the graphs. Money does not equal better test scores, does not equal an education. Throwing money at this, throwing money in a furnace does not help it. It's time to try something different. Any of the claims that say Trump doesn't want an educated population is laughable because you don't have an educated population now, and they're not doing a great job. And he's doing something different, giving it back to the states. I didn't go into a deep dive with Judge Janine talking about, the Constitution doesn't even have anything in there. I didn't go crazy looking through it, so I didn't really mention it too much. But if going on face value, if she's right, and the states have it in their constitutions, and the federal Constitution does not, why did we ever do this to begin with? Oh, anyway, it's irrelevant. All right, man, I'm gonna see you guys on the next one. I'm pretty sure this is all those graphs I showed you. This is dude, end it. End it. Let's try something else. If it doesn't work, we'll pivot, move, do something else. But this ain't working. This ain't it, Chief. It ain't happening. It ain't working. Too much money, too much bureaucracy, too much administration, and not enough making kids not dumb. Make me stupid. All right, man. I'll see you guys on the next one. I hope you liked it. Again, I hate to say it, man. I'm going to have to start saying it. I need you to subscribe. I need you to click the like button. The algorithm is not nice to me. So I need some help, man. I need some support. All right, man. I'll see you guys soon. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.